the word alternative makes it seem like it's like this new brand new invention, but it's really something that it's an ancient craft
Mm-hmm.
that's brought back to modern day that we've re-engineered to make better. And by just simply eliminating certain ingredients that it's just overused in the industry and using other ingredients that are just obviously really great for our skin, but we just know how to mesh the two.
Welcome to another episode of our mini podcast, I Built a Company That Makes a Difference by B1, where we talk to founders of sustainable businesses to get their takes on how and why they started their companies and the lessons that they've learned along the way. Today, I'm joined by Kimberly Waldropt, founder, CEO, and creative director of Terra-Tory, a sustainable wellness brand that embodies all natural personal care offerings to improve skin behavior as a foundation for healthier skin management. Their ethosphere revolves around creating the superfood-based alternative, especially for those who are challenged with sensitive skin. So this conversation is so rich. Kimberly has been really generous with sharing her story and her time and her lessons that she's learned, and really why she's creating this brand, and how she's done it so far. So we jumped into the conversation as soon as we got together. So please enjoy this conversation with Kimberly Waldropt, founder, CEO, and creative director of Terra-Tory.
When I say alternative,
Hmm.
what I mean is we're kind of going back to the modern day basics. So
Hmm.
right now, the modern day cleansing tool is primarily a shower gel, a liquid soap, a body cream, or a something that is synthetic.
Hmm.
And so when we say alternative, we do want to we're talking about going back to the natural state of cleansing, which is a solid bar of soap,
Hmm.
but we give it a twist because we're adding foods, fresh, raw, organic foods to this solid form, which is almost unthought of, and
Hmm.
it does bend the barrier of skincare that I feel like people aren't really grasping yet. Right now, I think the trend is the cool body wash with, beads in it, cleansing beads, or, this new fragrance of shower gel but it's all really just when you really look into the ingredients, it's really just like toxic detergents
Right.
that
It's,
are
yeah, like
drowned.
chemicals. Terrible
It's
for
terrible.
you.
And as redundant as the conversation sounds, it really does make a huge difference in skin health that people tend to want. They don't want to admit it. They want to just keep using whatever cute on trend Instagrammable product on their skin at the moment, but then they're struggling with the skin issue that they can't seem to get rid of, and they're embarrassed by it or they feel insecure about it, but they just don't want to say, you know what, this product is kind of killing my skin.
Right.
Let me use something more holistic. It may not be the most beautiful, it may not be the most Instagram worthy,
Hmm.
but it's helping, it works, and there's longevity in there for it, for
Hmm.
your well-being. And so,
Hmm.
that's where my work that's where a lot of my work, a lot of the time that I spent doing in the beginning of Territory was just figuring out how do I implement these ingredients that we know in nature and in science are really great for our skin, and incorporate that in an ancient craft that's been done for so long, and how do we make it beautiful and functional and translate that to the world.
So let's just jump right into this. I was on your website this morning, actually, speaking of raw foods and superfoods, and I saw a new hero image on the Territory website, and it's tomatoes. What's that about?
So So because we use foods, right? We're using raw, natural ingredients that we know if we eat it on the inside, we know that it's going to do great for our skin, our overall well-being, our blood pressure, whatever. And so tomatoes have just been really great for toning the skin. It is high in vitamin C. It's just it contains natural sugars that actually boost the lather of the soap. And most fruits and vegetables have this quality. All fruits and vegetables contain natural sugars. We it just goes in tandem of keeping the idea of using using good things that we know are going to promote skin health and figuring out a way to make it a part of our bar soap. So pretty much what we do is we take we we source our products from the local farmers market in my hometown because we don't need a lot to make a large amount of product, right? And so that's what helps keeps our sustainability promise. We're never overusing anything. So we're probably using like no more than 10 pounds of wild heirloom tomatoes. And that's probably going to produce us maybe up to 5,000 bars of soap.
Wow.
Absolutely. And you see the difference in your skin, you see the difference in the product. A little goes a long way. And I think that's the power of, you know, the power of bar soap has so many benefits in it, even in the first week of using it, rather than using a synthetic ingredient that can be mass produced. You can make it forever, but it deems no benefits. It
Hmm.
does what it's supposed to, it cleanses, but then using it over and over cleanses. Now, when you're using Terra-Tory, you're using you're getting your vitamin C every single day. Imagine how amazing that is for your skin. People who have sensitive, who probably have like abrasions or current eczema breakouts, like myself, I deal with dyshydratic eczema, where it's like for some strange reason my skin is constantly feeling like sandpaper,
Hmm.
like it's open sores because I'm scratching so much. You
Oh,
need something that's going to actively heal that. And so tomato is excellent for that. Anything that's a fatty acid, something as far as like our avocado soap, we use again no more than 20 pounds of avocado, and that probably lasts that can make us up to 6 months to almost a year worth of soap.
oh
And
my
so
gosh.
absolutely. And I love it. And it doesn't, I mean, unless you actually have a food allergy, I would prefer, I would say stay away from it, just like anything else that you would stay away from.
Any
But
any allergy that you would have,
any
yeah, you try
allergy
to
that you would,
yeah, you avoid
right,
that.
right. And but yeah, so like that's our and seasonally we don't use anything that's out of season. So just like how we should be eating um according to the seasons. For example, fall, we should be consuming more pumpkin, squashes, and stuff like that. Now we're falling into the spring, so we want more spring fruits and veggies in our diet because that's just how our bodies um we acquire the optimal health in absorbing the right nutrients from foods that are in season. And so spring is coming. Wild heirloom tomato is like really huge in my town right now. So why not use something that's growing in abundance? Um,
Amazing.
yeah.
So how, okay, I want to get to like how do you know this stuff? Let's talk about Kimberly, your background and like before Territory. Let's hear a little bit about you as a person.
Yeah. So I Trinidadian Jamaican background. My dad and mother loved to cook. My great grandparents loved to cook. They cooked all day long. And from from what I can remember back until I was probably eating solid foods, I was always told to food is very important in my culture, and eating the right foods and staying away from the bad foods is really what just helps you live a long time. My great grandparents lived to like nearly 100, pretty much, and their diet was consistent. I never saw them eating crap. They were eating provisions, root vegetables. They were eating soups, stews. They ate meat. They ate pork. They ate all the beef. They did all the things, but they always made sure that they paired it with a veggie. You rarely saw them eat too much starch. These were just like really good eating people. Heavy on the fatty acid, I mean the fatty foods, as far as like avocados, and pears, what they would call it. And heavy on the fish. They did fish a lot. And it was always a communal thing. We always ate together. Till this day, we all congregate in the kitchen whenever we're all together. Food is like a huge thing. So when I got maybe, I want to say when I got to college, of course, when you get to college, um, your diet really isn't a priority.
I
You kind
remember
of
that.
just, right. You want to go out, you're drinking, you want to party, you're eating all the nonsense, you want to go out and eat to all the restaurants that are just like the worst. And so get from college going into my career, as a technical designer, I went to school for fashion. And I studied at Fashion Institute of Technology. And that lifestyle was crazy. It was hectic. Food just wasn't, again, my diet wasn't a priority.
Right.
My whole point of life at this point was just survival.
Right.
It was just like getting through school, finding a job, keeping a job, and probably from like beginning of college to probably up until the end of my career, working in the garment industry as a technical designer, those were probably the most unhealthiest times of my life.
Sure.
Um, Working in the garment industry is nasty, nasty,
Mm,
nasty work, especially from a woman of color.
mm.
I was primarily the only Black woman working in the jobs that I've had. It made me bounce around a lot. I couldn't keep a job because I couldn't keep up with the work.
Sure. I
And
mean, it sounds like inhuman. Like it's not
it very
meant for
much,
somebody to stay. There's no
very
longevity
much
built into
so.
that.
Exactly. And just the culture around wellness is just non-existent in the corporate life. It's all about it's all about money. It's all about the demand. It's all about meeting the numbers. It's all about just making the business better. And they rarely took out the time to hear the employees and what we had to say. And I was asking for money. I was asking for raises. I'm like, look, I'm the only one in this department. Of course, you know, when I finally went to a company that was woman owned, I thought there would be uh light at the end of the tunnel, but unfortunately, it's unfortunate that I have to sound redundant, but women of color just we're just not appreciated in those spaces. I know that, they're not interested in if you have a family, or if you're trying to start a family. They're not interested if you're sick. They're not interested. They're ready to replace you. If you can't do the
Right.
job, then you don't need to be here. And a lot of us are trying to start families, and they're just trying to become healthier, and it does mean leaving work at 5 o'clock, and that's not okay. If you're leaving past 8 o'clock, if you're leaving before 8 p.m. at night, they're going to look at you a certain way. 3 weeks later, they're going to call you and to have a conversation with you. And then maybe a month later, you're gone.
So how
But
long did you do
I
this
did this
for?
for
How
6 years.
many? Six
I did
years?
I did it
Okay.
for 6 years. And at the last job, which was again woman owned, I thought there was, some silver lining there, but there wasn't. Uh, and I felt like, okay, at some point from not eating, not taking care of myself, my body just shut down. My immune system was shot. I was either overweight or underweight. My hair wasn't growing. My skin looked terrible. My nails were brittle. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I would have nightmares about work. And it was just, I was in a dark, unhealthy, toxic space. And the minute I decided that I just didn't want to do this anymore for like in a week, I just said, you know what, I see a dramatic change in my overall health. Just turning my brain off to like I was still working there, but I just turned my brain off and I was just like, if they fire me, they fire me because I just don't. And
So
I
you checked
checked
out.
out. I checked out, and as soon as my mental state changed, the body followed. That was early 2017, and I started developing my soap in November 2017. So maybe like 5 months later, 6 months later, I started
Amazing.
Terra-Tory.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Terra-Tory was always in the back of my head.
okay.
It was a conversation that I had with my mom, and I was just like, listen, mom. Now there's another story here. My mom was also a soap maker. My
Oh,
mom
that's okay. Got
started
it.
her
Okay.
own soap companies, candle company. This was in the early 90s. Early 90s, early 2000s. And she's always been this like apothecary, essential oils, incense burning. Like she was like my Erica Badu. And I said to my mom, I said, look, I'm not, I don't think I'm gonna do much more of this fashion thing, this corporate thing. There's nothing else that I have interest in doing. This is what I have a degree in. I don't think I want to work anyplace else. I said, how do you feel about me like running a soap company? She says, baby, you do whatever makes you happy. When she said that, I was just like, all right, literally, whatever little money I had, I think I had like $2,500 to my name. I took that and I ran with it. And that was when I started actually just like dabbling in my formulations and like just testing and seeing what's what. And but in the all the business and the soap making, all that, my mom's taught me how to do that years ago. My mom taught me how to make soap years ago. It's always been something that I've always known how to do. It was always like that, like if I was bored, hobby kind of thing, maybe for the holidays, if I, wanted to give people gifts, that's just what I did. Um, but it wasn't something like I thought would turn into something big until I was I think I was on Etsy. I think I was on Etsy and I was just like, oh, wait a minute. People are actually like this is like soap making because I've been so detached from like the soap making world for so long that I forgot that people were still doing it.
Hmm.
I thought my mom was like the only person on the planet that was like still making her own soap and thought that that was just such a cool thing. But the internet is such a crazy place. And when you're working and in school and you're focused, you're not really like paying attention to the outside world. You're kind of like in your own little tunnel. And it let me know like, holy moly, like I can I can sell I can sell soap on the internet? Like that's a thing? And so yeah, that's kind of like the birth of charity, like the birth, the leap of faith that I took.
And what
And
did
then
you
every
start with?
so oh man, I started off with bars,
Hmm.
like cutting bars. I started off with just a basic recipe that involved coconut oil. Actually, we started off using coconut oil and palm oil. And it just wasn't, the testing just didn't do well for me because I was also navigating through getting my health back in order. I was also spending more time at home. I'm cooking at home. I have time to do research. I have time to like build a brand. I had time now. So I was meditating. I was just finding myself again. I was studying martial arts. I was just doing all the things that I never had time to do to like optimize my frame of thinking, my body function, my biohack. I was biohacking. I was doing all the things to just like make sense of my skin, my overall energy level. And in the research and the conversations and the testings and going to the dermatologist and trying to figure out what it was going on with my skin, it all, I would do extensive research because the internet is a very, very big place. It's a big place with a lot of information and a lot of dissecting and a lot of like trying to figure out the truth of it all. And I decided, you know what? In the beginning, the testings of the soap just wasn't, it wasn't giving me the results that I was looking for.
Hmm.
Um, I would buy all sorts of other people's natural soaps. I would go to markets. I would do, I would go out there and like buy all the things. And even those soaps from artisans and goat milk soap and all these different types of soaps that were meant to do what it was supposed to do, it just wasn't doing it for me.
Hmm.
And so I said, you know what? With the research that I've done and I've changed my diet, I'm incorporating new supplements and introducing coming up with new recipes just to like enjoy raw foods again. I said to myself, all right. So I even started dabbling in cannabis, like I was doing it all.
Hmm.
And the when it all boiled down to it, fatty acids did great for my skin,
Hmm.
whether I was taking it or applying it. Um, when I was working out, I realized that raw foods did great for my energy level, and it did
Okay.
great for my
Oh.
probiotics did excellent. Even though we're still trying to figure out how to incorporate probiotics into our skincare line. That's something that's in the works
Hmm.
because I heavily believe in it. But probiotics do great for gut health, which also is linked to our skin behavior as well. Um, and with the knowledge, I said, you know what? I want my products to mimic my diet or
Hmm.
this newfound regimen that has made me feel excellent about my body and how I feel internally. And so that's pretty much what it is. It's a replica of fatty acids, avocado oil, hemp seed oil, rice bran oil, shea butter, which are all hypoallergenic, all sustainably sourced and creates no crazy harm to the environment when produced. I wanted to keep all toxins out because I detox every week. I have to, or else I'm gonna feel like crap at the end of the week. Till this day, I detox. Doing the research and understanding that fragrance oils also can be a link to dermatitis triggering. So we wanted to make sure that essential oils are only what we use. Everything has to be plant-based, so zero synthetics. And to add that extra oomph of supplement to the shower, because I mean, like, if we strip everything away from our soap ingredients and just use the oils that make it, it's a great bar of soap. Don't get me wrong, but what is going to separate us from the rest? In court, and what I talk about daily to my audience in my emails to people who come to me and ask me about what could be the problem with their skin, I always start with the question, what does your diet look like? And then the next question is, what does your skincare routine look like? Those two, I think, are the masters of how your skin will appear and behave. You can't just eat whatever you want and think that you're going to get great results. And that's the hard truth that many of us don't want to succumb to. But it was my path to realizing, like, okay, I had to cut out alcohol. Alcohol is one of my eczema triggers.
Mm.
Uh, because the a crazy amount of sugar will induce inflammation, and that's what dermatitis is. It's an inflammation autoimmune disease. It promotes inflammation, so we're trying to do our best to eliminate that as much as possible. And so, in retrospect, going back to when I was in college and going through school, not really taking care of myself, carrying on those bad, poor habits of not sleeping, not eating right into the corporate world, added on the stress
Hmm.
of just not, living well, just not having a routine, not having a clean diet, not having a pure natural skincare routine or any routine at that.
It doesn't even
Um,
sound like, I mean, if you were not sleeping
just total
or drinking
chaos.
water, that's pretty chaotic.
It's very chaotic. And it's so when we strip back all the consumer products that are out there, there's so much nonsense that we could get distracted by the pretty colors and the packaging and all of that. And I think what for me helped was when I left the job, when I had to go back to my core childhood thing to do, I had to strip back to my core.
Well, you had to heal yourself.
Exactly. And I think the less I had, the better off I was. The less ingredients we're using in our skincare products, the better off our skin is. We don't need so much just to cleanse. But if we are going to be cleansing every day, let's put something good in it. And that's where our base ingredients come from. That's where, everything from papaya goes into our soap. Aloe, which is a healing plant. We all know aloe is just like, again, if you're not allergic to it, we know that it deems excellent benefits. So our line pretty much represents a collection of foods that I've been brought up back in the day eating, that traces back to my heritage, that traces back to my culture, that represents how we eat today in my household: clean, whole foods that do good for our skin, that does good for our it's kind of like that whole full circle moment of
Hmm.
just like making sure your diet is good, and incorporating that concept into our soap because we can, and why not? That's what sets us apart. We are helping people across the world. Why not just contribute? Like, why, if we're taking so much from the earth,
Mm.
why not give back?
Hmm.
Why not do the least amount of pollution as we possibly can, the least amount of extracting and stripping as we possibly can, keeping things sustainable, keeping things plastic free. Let's avoid the trash altogether and strip back the responsibility for the consumer to be responsible and,
Yeah, you're just
recycle.
doing it that way from the
Just
front.
eliminate it
And
altogether
yeah,
and everybody, yeah.
it's just, yeah, I wish more businesses would just incorporate that. As you said, take the
Yeah.
thinking away from the customer.
Take the thinking away. Right. Right.
Yeah. So then talk to me about how you decide to, or how you have over the years decided when to expand your product range. Is it like somebody comes to you with a need and you're like, okay, I've done a lot of market research and it seems like this is a growing thing? Or is it you take a leap of faith and you say, I know this doesn't exist yet, but I know that it will help. How do you decide to expand into a new product?
Leap of faith. I'll be honest, that I would say the market research is something that I will say is one of my failures. I don't do enough market research, and I know I'm not the only one that doesn't. I wish I, and that is something that we will be implementing because territory is more of like a personal thing for me. And it just so happens that people cling to it, gave it a try, it works, and now it's a word of mouth kind of thing. Um, as far as expanding the line, it's all a leap of faith. It really is just like zooming into what I know. If we eat it, it's good for our skin. Then let's put it in a soap. Let's see what happens.
Mhm.
And it's a story that we tell. It's a story that we tell behind each product each release that we come out with. It's us reminding like, hey, just so you know, even though all these other products that use tomato enzymes or papaya enzymes and all these derivatives and all these things, let's go back to the original food. Let's go back to the original plant and use that in its raw form.
What's the last product that you launched?
Our wild tomato and
Okay.
basil. That's the latest. We launched it over the weekend. It's our seasonal. So once it's sold out, we don't return it. Um, because we have a staple product line that we reproduce. That is our hero. That is our go to, our staple collection that we swear by. That touches all bases. It's our aloe detox, which is our bestseller. Our sweet plantain and coffee cube, which is a great exfoliator. We have our gentle baby oats, which is our pure, unscented, unadulterated formulation. It's really just that, it's just oatmeal, which is our like all around skin savior of all. And then we have our fresh sea moss, which we know that sea moss is packed with vitamins and nutrients that our skin could definitely benefit from age 0 to 100. And so that those 4 bars are our staple. Now, anything outside of that is just like a treat. It's a treat, it's a skin treat. It's, hey, you need more moisture in this area, then these are the bars that you want. If you want more exfoliating features in a natural way, this is what you go to. Um we have our unscented collection, which are all of our products that are completely unscented because we want to cater to people with sensitive skin. We also we also make our shea butters, all natural, essential oils only. And we also have an omega oil, which is derived from DHA, which is a plant-based omega oil. And again, if we can take it, we're taking omega capsules, we're taking fish oil. It's great also applied to the skin as well. Um, so that's kind of like our product line, but ever so often when something's in season, we like to highlight it and give praise to it because it's a reminder that, listen, we need to go back to basics and really ignore the noise of what's out there and hone in on nature, because I think that the world is kind of like in this foggy distraction, noisy place. And going back to nature, kind of just like resetting grounds it's grounding. It's what's going to help us like go back to our inner voice, listening to ourselves and just stop comparing ourselves and just zen out. And I think that's really what the brand represents. It's like going back to nature because that's where it all begins. That's where it began for me. Spending so much, I live on Long Island. It's very woodsy compared to the rest of the city. So like if you've ever been if you've ever been in New York, or if any, whoever's listening, if you've ever been in New York, when people hear New York, they hear busy city, traffic, buildings. If I show you out my window, I'm surrounded by trees. I am in a woodsy area on Long Island. I love it. It's where I've always lived, but traveling to the city to go work and being removed from that place every single day, spending 12 hours of my day in the city, it's deteriorating. So now it's like, now I get to be home, I get to be amongst nature. It's lovely. And I think, we're also on our phones way too much. We're doing this. Our backs are not straight, our necks are not up. We need to expand our arms and go out there and take a nice long walk, climb a tree, ride a bike, and use natural soap. Go back to basics. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the questions that we ask everybody, which is three, four questions. One, what would you consider your biggest success to date?
The fact that I can do stuff like this and talk about my brand, and the fact that people take interest in what I'm doing, because it's not glamorous at all. It's not glamorous. And we were just mentioned in Forbes. We were just mentioned in Essence magazine. We're not paying for these publications. People are taking genuine interest in what we're doing. People are feeling the vibe and they're connecting with us and they're like, where have you been all this time? And people have to pay for this type of stuff, this type of publications and stuff like that. So it's like the fact that I'm doing this free of charge, and that to me is a big, huge success. I don't know about anybody else, but I dreamt about being in Forbes, and just this morning I opened up, my email and I'm like, whoa, and people take things like this for granted. Me, no, this is another plaque on my wall because no one can care about anything that I'm doing. All of this can just be, all of this can just fall on deaf ears. No one needs to listen to what I have to say. No one has to believe in what I believe in. And to me, that's a huge success. Another success is, aside from publications and people finding interest, is the people that desire to work with me and help me build my brand as well. The fact that I can convince 5 people to help me grow this thing and they actually believe in it is another huge success, because again, it's not something I'm trying to really just convince. I'm like, listen, this is what we're doing. We're helping people. We need to get our word out there. They've used the products. They swear by it. They love our brand ethos. Again, they wish more brands thought this way and they want to be a part of it. And now we're what, 6 people deep. I never imagined having a team. I always thought that I would be doing this alone. And I think that is a huge, that's a big win for me. a big win, especially having a child, and I can't imagine doing this on my own, but um yeah, I think that's huge.
Those are two negligible milestones. Those are two big things. I agree. Those are successes. And what about the flip side of that? So, what do you feel is your biggest failure to date?
Not having 100% biodegradable packaging. It does cost a lot of money.
Hmm.
I think the failure in that is not figuring out a way that we could make it part of the business just yet.
Mm.
Because we are still really small, and that type of investment may be too large for what we're trying to do right now. If we continue going the way we are, just with the packaging that we do, obviously we will do well. But will we need this packaging? Will this packaging evolve into something like with the catalog that we're growing, hair care, hair care, uh baby care, baby skincare, possibly for pets, hopefully. We're getting there. Um, will we be able to create biodegradable packaging, or will we find a manufacturer that produces it within the budget? Like it's all about, like, is it a necessity? Will people get it? Will people understand? How much of it will we have to, like, educate and overeducate? Will we be straying away from the point that yes, we focus on skincare, but then will we become a it's all about packaging the packaging, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. Like, is it necessary? Do we, because the soap in its whole entirety is biodegradable. However, the way we sell it to our product, we sell it to our audiences, we only like to keep our branded boxes that we use for wholesale. And customers, our customers that order e-com would get it out of a box, if that makes sense. So if you go to a Nordstrom where we're sold, you will see it in a box. But if you order it directly from us, it will not be in a box. And primarily because if it's already in your home, there's no need for a box. If you already have it in your possession, it's not like you're going out and shopping and you just have raw soap
Yeah, you need
bubbling
it
around
in a container
that.
because it's, yeah, yeah.
Correct. But if it's in your home, it's already where it needs to be. Just bring it to the bathroom. That's it. That's all you need. I
Hmm.
don't think we need biodegradable packaging for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that's like the only thing that I've struggled. I've teetered back and forth with that for years now. It is something that I feel strongly about. I would like to dabble into it. Perhaps maybe when we expand our product line, we can entertain the idea, because we definitely want to stay away from plastic. Definitely want to stay away from plastic. And I know that glass doesn't do well in the shower. So it's a challenge trying to figure out what's what. I do love the idea of aluminum, but again, it all has to, aesthetics is also my big thing.
Yeah, I would
Style,
imagine so. You were a designer.
yes, style, it has to be a stylish thing, because it's a when it comes to natural products, there aren't many natural products out there that have a je ne sais quoi to it. It's always just like burlap, tan, basic. I don't know. It's just there's nothing to it. There's one other brand that there are some, they are coming out though. There are some people out there that are just like me, and they're just like, we need something cool to go with this natural soap thing, because natural soap is having a comeback. We're coming back. It's been having a bad rap for a long time because there's not enough education about it. There's so many people out there just making soap and have no idea what they're doing. They're just throwing things together and selling it to the world. I do think that if you do start a soap company, you at least should have at least 6 years of soap making experience before you even give a bar of soap to anyone to try. Um, because It's a lot of testing and it's a lot of trial and error. And but I respect the soap makers that are out there that are really trying to preach the good word. And the also the another failure I'll say is it's not a failure, it's a struggle. I do get a lot of pushback from people, other businesses that use coconut oil, and it's been a lot of controversy around it. I don't really care because it's a preference, and a lot of times it's the truth of what I'm saying, and a lot of people don't like, people, you can't handle the truth. So it's like it's an ongoing battle of trying to explain to people the difference between certain ingredients and how much of it is used and what it's used for. I think coconut oil is great in soap. I just think that you have to be careful of your formulation. If you use over a certain amount of coconut oil in your soap formulation, it is very drying to the skin. And although we are trying to clean ourselves and break dirt barrier from the surface of our skin, you also don't want to drain the other oils from your skin as you're showering because water already does that. So you have water already dehydrating you, and now you have a cleansing agent stripping. So you have these two layers of cleansing stripping away your skin. No wonder your skin is irritated. No wonder you're itchy. No wonder your eczema is already exasperated. And then you're using this soap for what? A month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, however many months. So when you sit back and you think about it, and you're like, well, if we eliminated the use of coconut oil in maybe one product that you cleanse with, let's see what that does. And it's a game changer. My soap is probably the most moisturizing soap on the planet, and I'm confident in that because I've worked on it for 6 years.
I did not know that about coconut oil, so that's a good note. Last two questions. One, the most important lesson that you've learned to date. And the second one is, if you could get 85% of the world to adopt a single behavior, what would that be?
Keep telling your story. Keep telling your story, because once you stop telling your story and you stop documenting what you do, and your audience loses sight of your vision and your mission. Once I fell into postpartum depression, or even a little bit before that, I realized that my story, I was slowing down telling my story. And I noticed a difference in engagement with my audience. Even though I've been telling my story for years now. The moment I stopped, I realized, oh no, I have to keep going. I have to keep pushing. I have to keep going. And I realized that no matter how perfect you try to make things, it's never about no matter how perfect I try to make things, or the perfectionist in me comes out, or because I have a design background, things have to look a certain way. It's never about how it looks. It's always about the story. It's always about the mission and the point of why you're doing what you're doing. Your why will always matter. That is the biggest lesson that I'm still learning to date.
Hmm.
Always go back to your why.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what the brand looks like. Your reason is all that matters. I wish we all composted.
Okay, fair enough.
I wish we all composted, because giving back to the earth produces more for us.
Mhm.
It's like the cycle of giving. We're consuming so much. We're consuming so much food. There's so much food waste. If we just put that back into the earth, we can regrow our own foods. We can get agriculture back into our lives. So we're less dependent on the government. We're less dependent on outside sources, and just create a barter system of just like dirt. composting dirt. My mom has this massive composting bin in the backyard. Her compost bin is bigger than every like our neighboring partners. And they come to us and just like we're planting tomatoes and we need dirt, and like they always come to us, and I think that's a great thing. Composting is a is like underappreciated thing here in the States, in my opinion. When I talk to my peers about composting, they're just like, "What?" And I'm just like,
Mm.
"Nah, you got to compost. Like, what are you doing? Like, how can you throw that out? How can you throw that apple core in the garbage that needs to go back in the dirt? Like, it's like, give me all your scraps." And I'm like, but yeah, if I can get everyone to do that one thing, it would definitely be composting.
Okay. And just before we go, thank you so much for this incredibly educational conversation. It's been wonderful to hear about your story and territory as well. Can you
Yeah.
plug where we can find you on socials, in stores, which stores, website, where can we find you?
Ooh, so we are currently in Nordstrom and Free People.
Mhm.
But on our website, we have a long list of wholesalers. If you go to our website at www.terratory.com, that's TERRA-TORY.com. Head to our wholesalers, our retailers. There's a list there. You can find us on Instagram at Terra-Tory, TERRA_TORY. You can find us on Twitter at Territory1, TORRATORY1. We're also on Pinterest, Territory Skincare. We're also on Tumblr, Territory Skincare. We're everywhere. Um, a lot of these spaces are where I source a lot of my inspiration, to keep me creatively in on track. But oh, we're also on the 15% pledge. If you go to their website, we're listed there as well, along with other Black brands that are purpose driven. And we're on Vogue. We're in Essence and Forbes. And so yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm very proud of that. And yeah, that's where you can find us. And if you want to follow me personally, you can find me on Instagram at Waldrop, WALDROPT_.
Kimberly, thank you so much.
Of
Lovely
course.
conversation. And for everybody else, we will see you on B1.